The last song. The crystal spires of Viridia Prime sang their final lament as twin suns burned with unnatural fury above the dying world. Harmonist Prime Resonance felt the discord in her crystalline bones as she stood within the grand resonance chamber, her translucent form shimmering with the distressed frequencies that emanated from her people's collective consciousness. The chamber itself was a marvel of Viridian engineering, a vast crystalline cathedral that amplified and harmonized the thoughts and emotions of the entire population. Every surface was grown from living crystal that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, creating a symphony of light and sound that had existed for millennia. But now, even this sacred space trembled with the chaos of their dying star system. "Calculations are confirmed, Prime Resonance," said Theorist Cascade, his harmonic voice carrying undertones of despair. "The binary collapse has accelerated beyond our most pessimistic projections. We have perhaps 4 orbital cycles before the stellar instability reaches critical mass." Resonance's consciousness touched the collective network, feeling the fear and sorrow of her people ripple through the crystalline matrix that connected every Viridian mind. Their civilization had existed for thousands of years in perfect harmony with their world, their technology grown rather than built, their society based on shared consciousness and collective artistic expression. They had never known war, never needed weapons, never imagined that their peaceful existence could be so suddenly threatened. "Have the deep space observatories detected any suitable worlds within range of our evacuation vessels?" she asked, though she already knew the answer from the sadness in Cascade's harmonic signature. "None, Prime Resonance. Our biotechnological ships are marvels of efficiency, but they were designed for system exploration, not interstellar exodus. The nearest potentially habitable world is beyond our reach with current technology." Resonance moved to the chamber's central dais, where a massive crystal formation served as both a computational matrix and artistic masterpiece. As she touched its surface, the accumulated knowledge of her people flowed through her consciousness. Their music, their poetry, their scientific discoveries, their philosophical insights, all of it would die with their world unless— "What of the echo nodes?" she asked suddenly, her harmonic voice taking on new overtones of possibility. The echo nodes were ancient artifacts scattered throughout the galaxy, mysterious crystalline structures of unknown origin that had been discovered on the outer edge of the Viridia system decades ago. Most civilizations used them as simple communication relays, sending basic messages to nearby systems. But Viridian scientists had discovered something remarkable about these devices. They were capable of far more than simple communication. Theorist Cascade's form brightened with understanding. "You're thinking of the Harmony Protocol." The Harmony Protocol was a theoretical framework that Viridian scientists had developed for encoding their entire civilization's essence into quantum harmonic patterns. It was originally designed as a method of preserving their culture in crystalline matrices, but the same principles could theoretically be used to transmit their civilization's knowledge across vast distances through the Echo Node network. "We could send ourselves to the stars," Resonance said, her consciousness touching the collective network to share her thoughts with the entire population. "Not our physical forms, but our essence, our knowledge, our art, our very souls. Someone, somewhere in the galaxy, might receive our transmission and understand who we were." The response from the collective was immediate and complex. Hope mixed with desperation, wonder blended with sorrow. They had never attempted to contact alien life before, having always assumed they were alone in the universe. But faced with extinction, the possibility of touching another consciousness, however distant, offered a glimmer of hope. Artist Weaver, the eldest of the Viridians, emerged from her meditation alcove. Her ancient form was more crystal than flesh, having spent centuries in deep communion with the harmonic matrix. "If we are to sing our last song to the universe," she said, her voice carrying the weight of ages, "let it be our most beautiful." Over the next several cycles, as their world continued its slow death spiral around the unstable binary stars, the Viridians worked with desperate purpose. Every citizen contributed to the Harmony Protocol. Scientists encoded their discoveries, Artists wove their masterpieces into quantum frequencies. Philosophers embedded their wisdom into harmonic structures that could survive the journey between stars. The message they created was unlike anything ever transmitted through space. It began with mathematical harmonies that any intelligent species would recognize, the fundamental frequencies of atomic structures, the ratios that governed crystalline growth, the patterns that underlied all natural phenomena. But from this foundation, it blossomed into something far more complex and beautiful. The transmission contained the complete history of Viridian civilization, encoded as a living symphony. Their first stirrings of consciousness were represented by simple, pure tones that gradually evolved into complex harmonic progressions as their society developed. Their greatest achievements were captured as soaring melodic phrases that spoke of wonder and discovery. Their philosophy of collective consciousness was embedded in the intricate interweaving of multiple harmonic lines that created something greater than the sum of their parts. Most importantly, the transmission carried an emotional resonance that transcended language or culture. It spoke of love, of loss, of hope, of the desperate desire to touch another mind across the vast emptiness of space. It was a message of greeting and farewell, of gift and plea, of art and science unified in perfect harmony. The echo nodes are responding, reported navigator drift from the communication array. The network is amplifying our signal across the galaxy. Our message will reach every inhabited system within range. Prime Resonance felt the collective consciousness of her people focus on this moment of triumph and terror. They were about to make contact with alien life for the first time in their history, but it would also be their last act as a living civilization. What if they don't understand? Asked a young Viridian whose harmonic signature carried the discord of fear. What if they interpret our message as something else? Artist Weaver's ancient voice carried reassurance. Music is the universal language, young one. Any species capable of receiving our transmission will have discovered harmony, will understand the mathematical beauty of perfect resonance. They will hear our song and know that we offered it in peace. As their twin suns continued their violent dance toward mutual destruction, the Viridians maintained their transmission, sending wave after wave of crystalline harmonies into the cosmic void. The message repeated and evolved, each iteration carrying new layers of meaning and beauty. It was their gift to the universe, their proof that they had existed, their desperate hope that someone, somewhere, would receive their song and remember them. The young Viridians' fears proved prophetic in ways none of them could have imagined. For while the Harmony Protocol was indeed a universal language, the universe was filled with listeners who spoke many different dialects of understanding. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, receivers designed by a species that had never known the peace of collective consciousness were already beginning their tragic work of translation. As Viridia Prime continued its death spiral, the last song of the Viridians raced across the galaxy at the speed of light, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of an entire civilization. It was a message of unparalleled beauty and complexity, a gift freely offered to any species wise enough to recognize its true nature. But wisdom, as the Viridians were about to discover, was not evenly distributed throughout the galaxy. And sometimes, the most beautiful songs could be heard as war cries by those who had never learned to listen with their hearts. The misunderstood Symphony Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the command center of Terra Station, humanity's primary deep space monitoring facility, watching the holographic displays with the practiced eye of someone who had spent 30 years preparing for this moment. The station hung in the void beyond Neptune's orbit, far from Earth's electromagnetic interference, its massive sensor arrays constantly scanning the cosmos for signs of intelligent life. "Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, reported Lieutenant Commander Jackson, his voice tight with excitement and fear. "Signal strength is off the charts, Admiral. This is definitely artificial." Chen moved to the central console, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal deck plating. Around her, the finest minds in human space were working frantically to analyze what could be humanity's first contact with alien intelligence. The signal had been detected 6 hours ago, and since then the station had been in a state of controlled chaos. "Computer analysis?" she asked. Dr. Marcus Webb, the station's chief cryptographer, looked up from his workstation with haunted eyes. The AI systems are having difficulty parsing the signal structure. It's incredibly complex. Layered frequencies, quantum harmonics, mathematical patterns we've never seen before. But Admiral, he paused, his face pale. The preliminary analysis suggests this is a military communication. Chen felt ice in her veins. For decades, humanity had prepared for first contact, running countless simulations and scenarios. But in every model, they had assumed that any species capable of interstellar communication would either be peaceful or at least recognizable in their hostility. This signal was neither. The main display showed the signal's waveform, a complex pattern of interwoven frequencies that seemed to pulse with alien intelligence. To human ears, it was hauntingly beautiful, but the military AI systems that had been tasked with its analysis saw something else entirely. "Show me the translation." "Matrix," Chen ordered. The display shifted to show the AI's interpretation of the alien signal. The translation algorithms had been developed by Earth's military in collaboration with leading universities, designed to identify potential threats by analyzing communication patterns. They had been trained on every known form of human communication, from ancient battle cries to modern tactical frequencies. The AI identifies this as a sophisticated military broadcast, Webb continued, his voice shaking. The mathematical patterns suggest unit deployments, the harmonic structures match known signatures for fleet coordination, and the quantum resonance appears to be some form of advanced targeting system. Lieutenant Sarah Martinez, a xenolinguist, who had been transferred to the station just months before, frowned at the analysis. "Admiral, I've been studying the raw signal data, and something doesn't feel right about this interpretation. The frequency patterns are too artistic, too beautiful. I've never seen a military communication that showed this level of aesthetic sophistication." Chen turned to face the younger officer. "Explain." "Look at the mathematical progressions," Martinez said, bringing up her own analysis on a secondary display. "Yes, they're complex, but they follow patterns that are more consistent with music than tactical data. And these quantum harmonics, they're not targeting systems. They're more like a language of pure mathematics and emotion." Dr. Webb interrupted, his voice sharp with urgency. "With respect, Lieutenant, you're letting the signal's beauty cloud your judgment. The AI has identified clear tactical indicators: population counts, resource inventories, strategic positioning data. This is intelligence about our solar system, Admiral. They've been watching us." The command center fell silent as the implications sank in. The alien signal wasn't just a communication. According to the AI analysis, it was a detailed reconnaissance report about human defensive capabilities, transmitted to an unknown fleet that was presumably preparing for invasion. "Classification level?" Chen asked quietly. "Code Black, Admiral. Immediate threat to Earth's security." Chen closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of command settle on her shoulders. She had trained for this scenario countless times, but the reality was more terrifying than any simulation. An alien species with technology advanced enough for interstellar communication was apparently planning an assault on humanity's home world. "Begin Protocol 7, she ordered. "Full military mobilization. Contact Fleet Command and initiate the Terra defense response." As klaxons began to wail throughout the station, Chen watched her crew spring into action with military precision. Communication channels opened to Earth's orbital shipyards, where the most powerful fleet in human history was being prepared for launch. The Terra Defense Armada had been under construction for 20 years, incorporating humanity's most advanced military technology. Lieutenant Martinez tried one more time. "Admiral, please, let me run an independent analysis on the signal. I think we're making a mistake." "The AI analysis is conclusive, Lieutenant," Chen replied firmly. "We don't have time for secondary opinions. Every minute we delay gives the enemy more time to prepare their assault." What neither Chen nor Martinez knew was that the military AI's analysis was being corrupted by its own programming. The system had been designed to identify threats by comparing alien communications to known patterns of human military doctrine. When it encountered the Viridian transmission, a message of pure artistic expression from a species that had never known war. It tried to force the alien harmonics into familiar patterns. The result was a cascading series of misinterpretations. The Viridians' population census became troop deployment data. Their artistic masterpieces were analyzed as weapon specifications. Their philosophical meditations on collective consciousness were seen as coordination protocols for fleet movements. Even their desperate pleas for understanding were translated as demands for surrender. Dr. Webb continued his analysis, becoming more convinced with each passing hour that humanity faced an existential threat. The alien signal contained what appeared to be detailed intelligence about human defensive positions, suggesting that the enemy had been observing Earth for some time. The mathematical precision of the transmission indicated a species with technology far beyond human capabilities. "Look at these frequency patterns," he said to his assistant. "They're not just sending a message, they're demonstrating their technological superiority. These quantum harmonics require computational power that's orders of magnitude beyond anything we've achieved." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Martinez worked frantically at her own station, trying to find alternative interpretations for the alien signal. But with limited time and resources, and with the entire station focused on military preparation, her voice was lost in the chaos of mobilization. Within hours, the Terra Defense Armada began launching from Earth's orbital shipyards. 150 warships, the largest military fleet in human history, prepared to venture beyond the solar system for the first time. At their head was the TDS Prometheus, Admiral Chen's flagship, equipped with experimental quantum weapons that could theoretically destroy entire worlds. "Fleet status report," Chen commanded from the Prometheus's bridge. "All ships report ready, Admiral," replied Captain Torres, her tactical officer. "Weapons systems armed, quantum drives charged. We can achieve jump distance in 18 hours, Chen nodded grimly. The fleet was humanity's greatest achievement and potentially its last hope. If the aliens were indeed preparing to invade, the Terra Defense Armada would meet them far from Earth, in the depths of space where humanity's homeworld would be protected from the devastation of interstellar warfare. As the massive fleet moved away from Earth, Chen stood at the observation deck of the Prometheus, watching her homeworld shrink behind them. She thought of her daughter, safe in the underground shelters that had been activated as soon as the alien signal was detected. She thought of the billions of humans who were counting on her to protect them from an enemy they didn't understand. But, high above Earth in the cold silence of space, another message was being transmitted toward the alien signal's point of origin. It was humanity's response to what they believed was a threat, a counter-transmission that declared Earth's determination to defend itself against invasion. The message was transmitted using the same quantum frequencies as the alien signal, but its content was unmistakably human. It carried mathematical proof of humanity's technological capabilities, tactical data about the Terra Defense Armada, and a clear statement of intent. Any alien force that approached Earth's solar system would be met with overwhelming force. To the Viridians, who were still hopefully transmitting their cultural masterpiece to the stars, humanity's response would be received as something very different from its intended meaning. For the first time in their peaceful existence, they would hear the mathematical language of war, and they would have no idea how to interpret it. As the Terra Defense Armada jumped into hyperspace, heading toward what they believed was an alien invasion fleet, both species remained trapped in their separate bubbles of misunderstanding. The Viridians saw rescue coming, while humanity prepared for the fight of their lives. The greatest tragedy in galactic history was about to unfold, born not from malice or greed, but from the simple, terrible fact that the universe's most beautiful song could sound like a war cry to those who had never learned to hear its true melody. The universal language. The Terra Defense Armada dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Viridia system, with weapons charged and battle stations manned. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus expecting to face a hostile alien fleet positioned for invasion. Instead, her tactical display showed something that made no sense within the context of their mission. "Report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the confusion building in her mind. "Admiral," called out Commander Torres from the tactical. Station. I'm reading massive energy signatures throughout the system, but they're not military formations. These look like civilian vessels engaged in some kind of evacuation operation. The main viewer showed the Viridia system in all its dying glory. Twin suns burned with unstable fury at the system's heart, casting angry red light across a beautiful crystalline world that was slowly being consumed by stellar radiation. Throughout the system, thousands of ships moved in organized groups, but they were clearly not warships. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the fleet's xenolinguist who had joined the mission at the last minute, studied the sensor readings with growing amazement. Unlike the military AI systems back on Terra Station, she had studied alien communication theory for decades, and what she was seeing didn't match any pattern of hostile behavior. "Admiral," she said carefully, "these ships are configured for transport, not combat. Look at their formation patterns. They're not arranged for battle or defense. They're fleeing." Chen moved to the science station, her military training warring with the evidence before her eyes. The alien vessels showed no aggressive positioning, no weapon signatures, no indication that they posed any threat to the human fleet. Instead, they appeared to be in the middle of a desperate evacuation from their dying world. "Could this be a deception?" asked Captain Martinez, who commanded one of the fleet's destroyer squadrons. "Make us lower our guard before they attack?" Dr. Vasquez shook her head. "Admiral, I need to tell you something. I've been analyzing the original alien transmission during our jump, and I believe we've made a catastrophic error in translation." The bridge fell silent. Chen turned to face the xenolinguist, seeing something in her expression that made her stomach clench with dread. "Explain," Chen ordered. "The military AI systems that analyzed the original signal were designed to identify threats by comparing alien communications to known patterns of human military doctrine. But what if the aliens have never developed military communications? What if their entire civilization is based on peaceful cooperation?" Vasquez brought up her analysis on the main display. "Look at the mathematical structures in their transmission. Yes, they're complex, but they follow patterns that are consistent, with artistic expression, not tactical coordination. These aren't weapon specifications, they're musical compositions. These aren't population deployment figures, they're refugee census data." Commander Torres studied the new analysis, his expression growing grim. "You're saying they weren't threatening us?" "I'm saying they were asking for help," Vasquez replied quietly. "The transmission we interpreted as a military communication was actually a cultural exchange program. They were sharing their art, their science, their philosophy with anyone who might be listening. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever encountered." Admiral Chen felt the weight of command crushing down on her as the full magnitude of their mistake became clear. The Terra Defense Armada, humanity's most powerful military fleet, had traveled across the galaxy to wage war against refugees who were fleeing a dying world. "Communications," she ordered, her voice hoarse. "Open a channel to the alien vessels, all frequencies." The response came almost immediately, and this time, with Dr. Vasquez's corrected translation matrix, the meaning was unmistakably clear. The alien transmission was filled with joy, relief, and overwhelming gratitude. "Great ones who have come from the distant stars," the message began. "We sing with happiness at your arrival. We are the Viridians, children of the crystal worlds, and we have waited in hope for your response to our call. Our world dies, but your presence gives us strength to face the ending with courage." Chen closed her eyes, feeling sick to her stomach. The aliens, the Viridians, thought the human fleet had come to rescue them. "Open a direct communication channel," she ordered. "I need to speak with their leaders." The first face-to-face communication between humans and Viridians took place in the shadow of a dying star, with both species balanced on the edge of tragedy. Harmonist Prime Resonance appeared on the main screen as a shimmering, translucent being of living crystal, her form pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that conveyed emotions more clearly than words. "We greet you, travelers from the distant stars," Resonance said, her harmonic voice carrying overtones of desperate hope. "Your arrival fulfills our greatest dream, that our song would be heard across the void and answered by hearts that understood its meaning." Admiral Chen struggled. to find words adequate for the situation. Prime resonance, she began, using the correct title that Dr. Vasquez had identified. I must tell you that we came here under a misunderstanding. Our translation systems interpreted your transmission as a military threat. We brought weapons, not aid. The silence that followed seemed to stretch across the light years. Prime resonance's bioluminescent patterns shifted to frequencies that clearly indicated confusion and sadness. You came to fight us? She asked finally. We came to defend our world from what we thought was an invasion fleet, Chen admitted. Our computers told us that your transmission was a declaration of war. We were wrong. Terribly, catastrophically wrong. What happened next surprised everyone on the bridge. Prime resonance began to emit a sound that the translation system couldn't initially interpret, a complex harmonic pattern that seemed to shift between frequencies. It took several moments before they realized she was laughing. Do you not see? The gift the universe has given us, Resonance asked. You prepared for war but found peace. We called for help and received the greatest rescue fleet in galactic history. Your computers may have failed, but your hearts have succeeded. Over the following days, as the Viridian evacuation continued, the two species worked together in a collaboration that transformed both civilizations. Human engineering capabilities combined with Viridian biotechnology to create hybrid vessels, capable of carrying entire populations across interstellar distances. The warships of the Terra Defense Armada were converted into refugee transports, their weapon bays repurposed as living quarters for crystalline beings who had never imagined traveling between the stars. Dr. Vasquez found herself serving as humanity's first interspecies diplomat, working closely with Artist Weaver and other Viridian scholars to establish translation protocols that could handle the nuances of crystalline consciousness. The Viridians' collective awareness was unlike anything humans had encountered, a form of telepathic communication that allowed their entire civilization to share thoughts and emotions instantaneously. Your individual consciousness is fascinating, Artist Weaver told Vasquez during one of their sessions. Each human mind is like a unique instrument, capable of creating its own melodies. When we first heard your species' response to our transmission, we were amazed by the complexity of your individual thoughts. What do you mean? Vasquez asked. Your return transmission carried the mathematical signature of singular consciousness, thoughts that belonged to individuals rather than the collective. It was terrifying and beautiful at the same time. We had never imagined that intelligence could exist in such isolation. As the evacuation continued, Captain Martinez found herself working closely with Viridian navigators, learning about their biotechnological approach to space travel. Their ships were grown rather than built, using crystalline matrices that could adapt to changing conditions and repair themselves when damaged. Your vessels are incredible, she told Navigator Cascade as they coordinated the movement of refugee ships. This biotechnology could revolutionize human space travel, and your quantum drives could give us access to the galaxy, Cascade replied. Together, our species could explore worlds that neither of us could reach alone. The final evacuation ship left the Viridia system just hours before the twin stars began their terminal collapse. Behind them, the beautiful crystalline world that had been home to the Viridians for millennia was consumed by stellar fire. But ahead of them lay possibilities that neither species had imagined. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, now reconfigured as a command ship for the joint human-Viridian fleet. Beside her, Prime Resonance maintained her presence through a quantum crystal communication array that allowed her consciousness to interface directly with the ship's systems. What will you call this new alliance? Resonance asked. Chen thought for a moment, looking out at the mixed fleet of human and Viridian vessels moving through space in perfect harmony. Ships that had been built for war now carried the hopes and dreams of two civilizations toward a shared future among the stars. The Galactic Harmony Initiative, she said finally. Because we've learned that the universe speaks in many voices, and the greatest wisdom lies in learning to listen to them all. The combined fleet set course for human space, where Earth's colonies would help the Viridians establish new homes among the stars. The misunderstanding that could have led to genocide had instead created the foundation for the galaxy's first interspecies alliance. As they traveled through hyperspace, human and Viridian scientists worked together to decode the mysteries of the ancient Echo Node network. They discovered that the precursor race that had built the communication relays had themselves been a collective consciousness, not unlike the Viridians. The nodes were designed to facilitate understanding between different forms of intelligence, but they required receivers who were capable of listening with both logic and emotion. Months later, as the first joint human-Viridian colonies were established in the outer systems, children of both species played together in gardens where crystalline trees grew alongside earth flowers. The universal language that artist Weaver had spoken of, the language of music and mathematics, art and science, hope and compassion, had finally been translated correctly. And across the galaxy, the Echo Nodes continued to carry their ancient purpose, waiting for other civilizations to discover that the universe's greatest songs were not war cries, but lullabies sung by lonely voices hoping to find harmony in the endless night between the stars. The age of individual civilizations was ending. The age of galactic harmony had begun,